What I want to talk about is combining. A couple people filled out the form that I put on. I want to talk about combining relational evangelism and discipleship multiplication into the youth ministry context. Now, again, these are if you're familiar with uh, what 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 I do is I'm connected with Dare to Share. Dare to Share has been amazing. It's done amazing things for me with just their resources and just freely giving out information. And so they created, did a survey a long time ago. They surveyed like the top youth ministries. When they say top youth ministries, it's those that are growing numerically and spiritually, right? And so they did this big survey, and they came back and they all had these seven things in common, and they cross-checked them with the Book of Acts, and all throughout the Book of Acts, right? I mean, like imagine the early church knowing what they were doing, right? Um, so they basically called it the seven values of a gospel advancing ministry, and so along with that, they created these values. And so that's what we're diving into. And so one of the values is relational evangelism drives it. That's just value one. And I'm going to go ahead and dive into that one. And value four, which is the discipleship multiplication strategy, guides it. And so those were the top two that people are saying that they had the most trouble with, according to the survey that was filled out here this evening. All right. And so we'll talk about how we can combine both of these aspects together in your youth ministry. Again, this will be recorded. You can go back and check it out later. So first of all, the why. Why is this? Why is this important? Because we understand that building relationships is like vitally important. Uh, I just got the phone with a young man that was in my youth ministry, and he's struggling right now. His mom called me, Pastor Irie, can check in with my son. Now this dude is in his 30s right now, young 30s. I had him in youth ministry. Um, he was kind of salty, kind of salty that his mom told on him, basically. And when I called, he didn't pick up, right? Because he's mad. But then he heard the message, hey, I'm not judging you. There's no shame. I just want to hear your voice, make sure you're all right. And so he said, I got. So basically, all that came through relationship. Uh, it was vitally important to me to build relationship with each and every one of my students. And so I'm seeing the benefits of it now, where when they come into these times of life, when life is like weighing on them heavily, I can pick up the phone and they might see it as like the principal calling them, but then they realize, man, Pastor Sorry is for me. He's been for me. And that came through relationship. Been able to marry people that were in my youth group. Not I didn't marry them, right? So I officiated the wedding of young people that were in my youth group. Still, they still talk to me, right? So that's cool. And so, but building the relationships like led to these moments. And so, reason why relational evangelism and imparting relational evangelism and discipleship multiplication is important is because all this revolves around relationship. Relationally share the gospel and discipleship multiplication is vitally important in the youth ministry. And so another one is multiplication is greater than addition, right? I mean, unless you're multiplying by zero, then that equals zero. But outside of that, um, multiplication is going to be greater than addition. And what I mean by that is if I were to go out and share the gospel, and I were to go out and share the gospel, and I were to share the gospel, and I would share the gospel, I would share the gospel, like that's addition, right? But if we train our students, I train like three students to share the gospel. Each one of those students share the gospel with three, and then three, and then three. That's nine people. Or I would have to go out and share the gospel nine times. Or I could train three people to share the gospel. They share the gospel with three people. That's faster. That's multiplication. The gospel spreads quicker through multiplication. It said me feeling like I got through touchdown passes to my students every week. But I train my students how to do it, and then they go out to their friends, it multiplies. And so I see youth pastors all the time trying to find ways to um, drop in their schools and try to like convince the school that they want to like, I just want to, wash the tables off and do whatever. And they're like, we don't do that because we don't want the kids to feel like they're being prostituted. Oh no, I wouldn't dare do that. All the while we know exactly what we're trying to do, right? Well, why not train our students, right? My man Chris said that students are federally funded missionaries in their schools, and so why not equip these students to go out and literally share the gospel to their classmates, right? Teammates, classmates. Um, Next thing is it is sustainable faith development. This sustains their faith when they are when they believe will help my unbelief, right? They can go back into what you've taught them in discipleship. They can go back into the conversations that they had with others when it came to the gospel. And I feel like evangelism is like a quick path to discipleship, right? And I know a lot of times as well, let's disciple them first and then they'll share the gospel. One of those many people that are so discipled out that they don't know how to relationally share the gospel with somebody, right? It's too over their head. It's not relational at all. And so what good is a gospel that can't be explained? And so I believe if we teach people how to share the gospel, um, they'll pray more, right? Oh Lord, I don't know what to say to these people. What if I say the wrong thing? Well, they're talking to God about that. Next, they're going to open up their Bible because I don't know what to say. What they ask me a question I don't know, right? They're going to read their Bible more. They're going to evangelize as part of discipleship. Four, they're going to ask you for information, so they're going to have like mentorship involved. Five, I believe their worship is going to be deeper because they're going to see God moving, right? Then they're going to bring people into the community of faith, right? All these things are all in the realm of discipleship, and that's just to name a few that come through evangelism. But when I feel like we try to get our students into this. I think we small group them a lot, right? Small groups aren't bad, but we made small group the life out of them to where they don't know how to now relationally share the gospel with somebody, right? They have great kumbaya moments and great moments of uh, building relationship together, like within the small group, but don't know how to go outside the small group and share the gospel, right? So when we teach them how to relationally share the gospel and we equip them with discipleship, it sustains their faith for the long run. So that's why I think these things are very urgent. Drop questions in here if you have any questions, anything you want me to address. Um, I would definitely go ahead and address that. And where we can see in the New Testament, this kind of shines a light on is in Matthew 28 on the Great Commission, right? Um, Go into all the world and make disciples of all men, baptize them in the name of the Father, right? So we see Jesus telling you, man, go, like don't stay, don't just huddle, but go, right? And so in this discipleship mode, he's discipling them to evangelize. So it's not just one class. It's not discipleship class. It's not just evangelism class. It's discipleship and evangelism, and they go. So it's they gather and they go. They gather and they go. They gather and they go. And so we see that in the Great Commission. We see it with Jesus and the Samaritan woman. He definitely had relational evangelism with her. Lowered his guard. Well, not lowered his guard, but when he went to her, she had to lower her guard. Her guard was definitely up. Here's a man talking to a woman. Here's a Jewish man talking to a Samaritan woman. Like that stuff didn't happen. They were on the other side of the tracks. Like people went around Samaria, right? Jesus went into Samaria. So he broke down a lot of cultural norms. A lot of cultural like taboo things, and literally went to Samaria uh, to have a relational conversation, to have a relational evangelism with the Samaritan woman. And then we see Paul and Timothy when it comes to discipleship, how Paul and Timothy's relationship like casts a huge light on what discipleship looks like, right? Paul encourages Timothy in 2 Timothy 2:2 to go and teach others who will be able to like teach more people, like go and teach others, go and teach others. Circle, huddle, go and teach others. I'm huddling, telling you what to do, go and teach others, right? That's multiplication, because as he teaches others, he's teaching others and teach others. And so it's it's multiplication. Multiplication is faster, greater than addition. Um, and I want to open up some best practices to you, right? So we said all this, and so how can we make this a reality? Okay, so we understand the urgency behind it. We understand how it was done in New Testament, like what they did, like Scripture telling us why this is important. And so I want to give you some best practices. The first best practice I'm going to give you is to create connection points. All right, create connection points. Um, Organize social type of events that interact with young people from different backgrounds. The beauty of the upper room experience is when they left the upper room, they spoke to others that didn't speak their same language with young people. They had different backgrounds, right? And so that was the beauty of it. And so as they did that, um, they were able to have this communication with other people that didn't look like them, talk like them, but the upper room experience allowed them to relationally uh, convey the gospel in a way that was different from what they're used to, but they're able to convey the gospel. And so it was like the Holy Spirit like supercharged that moment. So for us, we have the privilege of being able to be introduced to other backgrounds. Right now in our culture, it's kind of like the cool thing to like know people from different backgrounds. Back then it was taboo. And so our students have the luxury of social media and being at school and being able to see people from other backgrounds. So with creating connection points, one of the steps within that is to um, make the exaggerated effort to have social and spiritual events that encourage interaction with people from different backgrounds. Um, and this does not just have to be just different backgrounds of faith, right? You have multiple demographics in your community, right? Um, this side of the tracks and that side of the tracks, like bring them all together. And I think that was the power of what happened in our youth group was that we had people from all different types of tracks coming to the youth group, and we learned how to get along together, pray together, sing together, worship together, and that was the beauty of it. I wanted to be known as the friendliest place on a Wednesday night, and I feel like that's what it became. Um, Within that, you can facilitate small group discussions that allow for deeper spiritual connections within that. Very important to slow down the big event, slow it down enough so everyone's heart rate can come down, right? And you just connect. And one of the things that we do at our house, we call it high, low, high, right? So give you a high point of your week, a low point of your week, and a high point of your week. And we go around the circle. I was in a small group with Pastor Josh here on this call, and we had some rules. Um, when people were sharing, you didn't one up their story. You didn't cut them off. We loved you listening, and we didn't one up their story. If someone said, man, my cat's sick. I got 5 cats that are sick. No, first of all, you probably don't. So save all your stuff till it's your turn. And the beauty of it is when it came around to their turn, they totally forgot why they were interrupting the student. um, and so make sure you slow down the event, and make the connections. Encourage your students in that to share their own faith stories. Like what in that high point, low point, high point, what's been your faith journey this week? The good, the bad, the ugly. Have them communicate that. So that's the first best practice is creating connection points. All right. Second is mentorship programs. All right. Second best practice is mentorship programs. You can do this by pairing up younger with the older, right? So you can pair up younger youth with older youth in your small group. You can pair up students with seasoned adults in your church, right? You can have students write down what they need prayer for and pass them off to the older saints, have the older saints pray for whatever they're going through. You can And that's a great way, if you want me to be honest, that's a great way to actually add volunteers into your youth group, right? Involve the older into the youth group. A little nudge is getting them to pray for them, and their heart will be attached. They want to see this person. They don't want to see the students. That's a little tip. Next, you can provide training sessions for mentors to guide their mentees. So you have somebody in the church that is like a professional at whatever they do, and bring them into the small group or bring them in the youth group and have them share their life, share their journey, and they can start that mentorship to the youth. That's also a great way to bring volunteers into your youth group. Uh, the next one is to schedule regular check-ins or monitor progress and just address any challenges, right? So make sure you pick the adults that you want to have a say into a young person's life, right? So that's second one is mentorship programs. Um, and next is discipleship training workshops. All right, another best practice. This could be workshops that teach practical discipleship and evangelism skills, something that I personally love to do. I'd be willing to do that with you for you. You contact me in the message or in this here below. I can give you some resources, whatever it is. I have youth ministries that have used the discipleship things like this on Zoom that we do as their like monthly discipleship meeting, right? And we bring other youth ministries in on the conversation too. Um, Within that, you can use role playing scenarios, right? You be the believer, you're the non-believer. What would you say to each other, right? Put them on the spot, have a practice. Have a shadow box, right? Have a shadow box, and then when they go out, they know what they're doing. Um, and you can challenge the people who are in this how to apply their skills in real life situations, right? So that's what the training discipleship training workshops can literally look like. Um, that's three best practices. Um, let me give you a fourth one. Let me give you a fourth one. Um, you can do service projects or emissions trips, right? On the high level, a missions trip, it's a lot of money that they have to put up, but missions trips are great at accelerating relational evangelism and puts them in the mode of discipleship, like mm, quick. Um, Service projects at home, right? So you can say you can go away or stay at home. And how you can stay at home is you can link up with nonprofits in your community that need service done, service works done, and you don't have to take them very far to find that your community has some needs in it, right? So could it be um, a nursing home that needs painted? Do they need stuff moved? Um, are there elderly in the community that need things cleaned up, raked, painted, nailed together, right? You can bring the older that know how to do it, the mentor the younger of how to hold the hammer or the screwdriver, right? And do all that stuff. So that's what service projects can help do. Um, Within that, you can incorporate your evangelism and discipleship into the preparation of the projects, right? So you can link up what you're doing in the physical and how it relates to the spiritual and put them out and as they do the physical thing. And then afterwards, you just reflect on your experiences together, right? Um, so those are four best practices. I'll run over them again so you understand what we just covered. You can um, create connection points that's within your youth ministry programming, like through small groups. Yeah, mentorship programs connecting the younger to the older, whether that's a younger student to an older student or a younger student to an older adult in the congregation and have them build a relationship that way. You can do discipleship training workshops, which is kind of what this is right here. You can do it on your own, or you could have me come and help your youth ministry program do this. Totally take the pressure off you to sit back, relax, and be part of the group and learn and dialogue and brainstorm back and forth. Normally, when people hop onto the Zoom, when we have it, we have like breakout sessions. So allow you and your team to go off into one of the chat rooms and kind of chop it up for about 15, 20 minutes, build a strategy, come back, and then we discuss it. And then the fourth thing is service or missions trips. That's home or away, right? So those are the four areas. So within that, uh, I'm going to challenge you to think of one of these things to do. All right, I'm gonna put them in the chat box and I'm gonna encourage you to pick one of them. All right, so here we go. All right, creating connection points. Yeah, I like that. That's what's up. Thank you, Pastor Josh, for that. Okay. Give some time to kind of look at that. Cool. Cool. And then in our training, I had time to do that because I wanted to leave this for 30 minutes. Uh, After you decide which one it is, then we take you to through a 7-step um, process of making these work within the next within the next 2 weeks. And so we kind of take you through like a little 7-step journey. I'm gonna kind of copy and paste them in there, kind of do a little quick overview with you um, of what it would look like. All right. So in the chat, you'll be able to see. Uh, I would ask you, which best practice did you choose? And so, Pastor Josh, you chose creating connection points. And so I would say, all right, that would be the best practice. And I would encourage you, don't try to do all four of these. That's where youth ministries mess up. All right. Don't do all four. Pick one that you think you can do in the next 2 weeks. Then with that, I would challenge you to ask yourself, what do you need to do to make this happen in the next 2 weeks? Just literally brain dump, just everything you think that you may need to do in the next 2 weeks. This is during the brainstorming session. Next, what resources are you going to need, right? Like what things, what items you could put your hands on, what things are you going to need to make that a reality in the next 2 weeks? And then who do you need to communicate with, right? Is that your senior pastor? Is that parents? The older people in the congregation, then the younger, like the maintenance person, like who do you need to communicate with to make this a reality in the next 2 weeks? And then what roadblocks are going to come your way that you're going to need to that or you're probably going to face? You know, is a roadblock could be um, this person is sick, right? This person is sick. I can't get the information to them. How can you get the information to them? Roadblock could be uh, finals is coming up and students aren't like available. Okay, that's a roadblock. Then the next step is avoidance. How can you avoid the roadblock? This is so you'll have like your pessimists are giving you the roadblocks, and then your optimists are going to help you how to avoid the roadblocks. Right? They're sick. Yeah, they're sick, but so and so does the same thing in the congregation. Oh yeah, I didn't think of that. Yeah, I was stuck on that person. Uh, so your pessimists and your optimists, so both of them are necessary in these meetings. Um, and then the next are leaders. What leaders that are not in this conversation are not in the room right now, you need to bring into the room with you to make this a reality. And then the last thing is how do you know that it's working? When you close your eyes, right? You close your eyes and you dream of what this looks like. At the end of the day, what do you see? Right? And just write down what you see. Um, and that's going to be your target. And you're going to need somebody to be able to tell you, hey, um, we might not hit a bullseye, but at least right now we're hitting the target. Right before we weren't even hitting the target, but we're not hitting the bullseye, but like we're right on the edge. At least we heard the smack of the target. Before we just heard nothing. Right, you shot the arrow, it didn't stick on anything. It is out in the trees and the grass. But at least now we heard the target hit. So we're hitting the target at least. You're going to need somebody to tell you when that thing's working. All right. Um, that I ran through it real quick, I wanted to get us through this in about a half hour. Let me know in this chat if you have any questions or anything you want me to further explain. I see some. Yeah. So um, you can either contact me in the messenger feature in this group, or you can contact me. I'll leave my email here. Um, so that's come to me at sterlingtyree@gmail. That's the way how you can get a hold of me. Okay. Another question here. Further explain connection points with leaders, parents, students for someone new in the role. All right. The the thought of the connection points would be breaking down the larger group into the smaller group. Okay, um, is to bring in groups of people that don't look like each other into the same room, right? Whether that's age wise, color wise, background wise, whatever, right? Bring them all into the same room. So already we're talking about leaders, parents, and students. Those are groups of people that don't look the same. So bringing those three groups in there into the conversation already setting you up for what this best practice is. So for someone who is new to the church, you want to get with the person that oversees the whole thing. Right? So that would be the senior pastor, you new to the role, and let them know your heart. Hey, this is what I want to do. Um, I'm gonna do this in the next 2 weeks. Literally, you take the strategy to the pastor. Hey, I'm gonna do this in the next two weeks. If you're cool with it, ask some questions with you. They say, cool. All right. What am I gonna need in the next 2 weeks to make this a reality? Uh, are there any resources that I'm gonna need that maybe I don't know of right now that I'm gonna need to make this a reality? Because they're gonna know where stuff is, right? You don't know where the ladder is right now. You don't know where the folding tables are and where the chairs are, right? They're going to know where that stuff is. Um, uh, Aside from you, is there anyone else I need to communicate with, Pastor? Again, you're going to need to check the van out. You know, you're going to need to check with a maintenance person to make sure that this building is unlocked, that you got the keys right. They're going to know. They're going to know the people. Um, Pastor, you've been here for a while. What roadblocks am I going to find? Well, this parent's probably going to come. I'm going to let you know this parent, they feel this way. But you also have this parent coming in that can help, that would be a really good partner for you, right? So they're going to help you, be able to help you with that. And all right, so you told me what I need to look out for. How can I avoid them? Right. And so get your pastor on your side where you can do this, or I'll come in and I'll let them know that I partner with this vision, right? To have the senior pastors say so on is huge, right? And so, Pastor, are there any other leaders in here in the church that I'm not connected with? That I probably do need to be connected with. Yeah, let me get deacon so and so, or elder so and so, or mother so and so, and get them in on this conversation. Great, great, great. So, Pastor, let me get your mind on it. When you close your eyes and you see this thing working, like what would you like to see be the outcome of this? And then they would tell you. So as a new person coming in, I will not try to wing it all on your own. I will get the advice of those who have been there and they know how things operate and get their mind on it. And they will be able to help you. So hopefully that helps you out. Okay. All right. I'm 2 minutes over time. We'll respect your time. A little 30-minute call. I'm gonna hang up here, but like I do on the Zoom meetings, feel free to stay on and we could talk about it in the Zoom session. As far as this Facebook session, I'm out. Peace.